Welcome back. Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network, and I have with me Kingsley Monwood. Nice to have you.
Thank you very much, Siri. Very happy to be here this morning.
Well, of course, we'll get started, and it's no longer news that Shehu Diko is the new helmsman in charge of sports here in Nigeria, resuming office after handover from the former sports minister, Ewang Eno. The newly appointed chairman of the National Sports Commission, Shehu Diko, actually emphasized on a lot of areas where he will take sports to a higher level. Kingsley, he talked about development of sports and in his facilities, inclusive. But first, you have to formulate the policies. After formulating the policies, you think of infrastructure, and after infrastructure, then it is sports proper in terms of laurels. But first, he seems to be very grounded. He talked about the issue of the National Sports Commission bill, which he was part of those who drafted. In fact, he was the helmsman drafting that bill about 16 years ago. Now he's come as a helmsman of the Sports Commission to implementing this bill. And it looks to me like someone who knows his onions and will hit the ground running from day one.
Yes, I think for me, when you take a look at it, Shehu Diko is one man who has a lot of experience when it has to do with sports administration down here in Nigeria. He's been in the sporting scene for almost 20 years, in Nigeria, down here. Just like you mentioned, he was part of the committee who drafted this particular National Sport Commission, and now he's here, to implement it. I think for me, is a man, of course, who has the vision. He was there, and he carried the vision, and now it's then time for him to, of course, make it a reality for Nigeria. So it's going to be an interesting one, and just like you mentioned, he has the experience. So taking a look at it, I think things are going to be a little bit easy for him in terms of navigating his way, putting things in place when he has to do with, of course, sports down here in Nigeria, based on his experience. So just for me, in terms of him trying to hit the ground running, just like you mentioned, the policies have to be in place so that every sporting sector will have to make sure they abide by the policies, and sporting stakeholders as well. They also have to abide by the policies, and then we can then talk about putting up sporting infrastructures in the country in place. When you take a look at the state of our sporting infrastructure, they are so dilapidated, and that some of our teams, of course, have to go out elsewhere to play most of their game, especially continental games. To say, you could talk about the fact that in the country we only have one standard stadium to host international games, which is the Yugoslav International Stadium. So I think all of this, of course, should be, put in place, and when it has to do with infrastructure, not only in football, but we should look forward to see how we can create basketball courts in the country, table tennis courts in the country. You talk about the badminton courts as well. These are also what we need, to develop, sport down here in Nigeria. He also talked about the fact that he wants to, make sport here a money spinning venture. And I think for me, it's actually a good one at this point in time, because over the years, we've just been doing sport down here as a recreational activity where people come, compete and then go back. And at the end of the day, no money comes out from it. But I think for me, if Shehu Diko can make sports a money spinning venture down here in Nigeria, it is also help, of course, to boost the economy, for the country and take sports down here in Nigeria to another level. So we'll just wait to see what the man, of course, will be able to bring to the table. Just like I mentioned, he has the experience. We'll see what he'll be able to do with his high level of experience.
Chairman of the National Sports Commission, and of course the man in charge of sports here in Nigeria, Shehu Diko, coming out with what looks like a blueprint of how to get sports here. He talked about not expecting trophies straight away. A lot of people, every time we're into competitions, he will believe that we should win and win. He said he's not, sold out on winning now. First, there has to be a policy in place and infrastructure. And if there is a policy, a well-structured policy and the proper infrastructure, definitely the winning of laurels will come into place. And of course, like you talked about, money being generated from sports as well. And Nigeria is going to be patient enough with him to ensure that the policies are properly in place and infrastructure in place before thinking of laurels from participating in competitions.
For me, I think when you take a look at it in sport over the years, Nigerians have not been so patient when things do not go their way, when they do not get, when they don't get to the needed heights at any competition. So you take a look at it. I don't think Nigerians will be that patient. Number one, and number two, does he have the time? I think he just have about 3 years. Before this tenure of maybe the present government, of course, will expire. Maybe if they actually get the nod, to lead the country in the next election and all of that, probably he will continue. But if at the end of the day, they do not get that particular opportunity, it means Shehu Diko might not be the man at the helm of affairs at this point in time. So you just have 3 years. In space of 3 years, can he implement all of these things? For me, I think 3 years is just short. The next Olympic comes up in 2028. So if you don't prepare the athletes and make them ready to win laurels at this point in time, it means we don't even have hope. No wonder Majupini came up to tell Nigerians that they shouldn't, be that hopeful when it has to do with medals, in the next Olympic Games. But I think for me, we should, no matter what they're trying to put in ground, let them prepare the athletes and see if they can possibly get something at the coming Olympics. So it's really a very tight situation for me, from what I'm seeing for Shehu Diko, because he has a little space of time. Can he achieve all of this in this short space?
Shehu Diko is not very sold out on winning laurels. He wants to put a proper legal framework in place, and which I agree with him. Then there has to be infrastructure before you can think of winning. The whole idea of thinking of winning at the end of the day, you don't win from year 1 to year 60, it doesn't still make sense. If you remember, if we have this proper structure with legal framework where everybody knows that this is how these things are done by law and you follow it, then there are proper infrastructure on how it should be done that will be used in doing those things, ensuring the athletes are prepared. You talked about only one facility or stadium being available for football, so to say, which is like a very popular sport. But there are other facilities that are lacking across other sporting and disciplines that needs to be put in place before you can think of winning laurels in those sports disciplines. So I think I stand with Shehu Diko. We've often looked for medals, and we've not seen the medals in the last 60 years of sports competition, except for just 1 or 2 where we saw Tobi Amuso win at the international stage, and we've seen maybe inspiring victories at the continental level. But I think we need to be holistic in our planning, then begin to wait for results to come. We are not patient, but we've not been patient in the last 60 years, and I think this is the time, because it's really disgraceful that in the football, where there's a lot of Nigerians follow, we have only one recognized or approved stadium. And that's not good enough. I think I stand with Shehu Diko on this one. In the days ahead, we'll see how he's going to get about this done. Let's quickly go to handball now. Okay. And the head coach of the under-18 handball team, Emeka Ndamani, has released a final list of players who will represent the country at the International Handball Federation Trophy Africa Men's Continental Phase coming up in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Kingsley, handball too is beginning to show that yes, it is a sport followed here in Nigeria. We've seen them make an impact before at the continent. Can they continue with their performances? Talking about the under-18 handball team from Nigeria.
Yes, I think they can. If you take a look at it, they've been so impressive, especially in this particular under-18 championship. They are the defending champion. They won the last one. I think that was 2 years ago in Congo Brazzaville. And this time around, I think they're looking forward, of course, to defend the title they won last time. Talking about handball in the country, is one federation that has actually done a whole lot, in terms of, trying to see how they can push the different, teams, to a very, very enviable height. And this is what we've done. And this is what we've seen at this point in time. And kudos must be given to the handball president, Samuel Eto'o. He's been so consistent, in terms of taking handball, to the next level down here in the country. If you take a look at it, handball is one of the federations, that have sponsors. They have sponsors, and that's why you can see them prepare, they prepare for tournaments like this with ease, even without glamoring or shouting, for funds, from the federal government, and all of that. So I think for me, this is the same thing we also need to see in other sporting federations. One of them also is the Wrestling Federation. Danny Gali has been the man, of course, at the MFFS, and he's been able to strengthen that particular federation as well. So I think for me, when you take a look at handball in the country, Samuel Eto'o has done so well. And I tell you, I won't be surprised if the girls, go this time and being able to defend the title they won last time.
Well, the under-18, the handball side, they are supposed to be airborne right now for Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. We wish them the very best of luck. From handball, now let's go to basketball. And talking about basketball reminds me that River Supers continue in the Nigerian Basketball League undefeated so far, Kingsley. It looks like they are now 5 games undefeated. 2 more to go, and they will emerge champions. They beat their sides from Lagos 102 to 46 points only yesterday, and it looks good. Belofia scored 23 points. We saw Ifeanyi Okuko scored 19. Ikenna Waluba scored 10 points. And we understand Ifeanyi now scored 6 3-pointers in a game. They have dominated all through. River Supers continue to show why they are the best side in basketball here in Nigeria.
Of course, they are. If you take a look at it in terms of preparation and how they handle games, they are, of course, the best basketball team we have in Nigeria. One of the best as well, you say, in Africa, because of their prowess, their pedigree. Last time at the Basketball African League, they finished 3rd, and this time around, I tell you, you see the way they are performing in the Nigerian Basketball League. I tell you that they have what it takes. Don't forget, they're also the defending champion of the Nigerian Basketball League. So they are proving the fact that, yes, they can also defend the title they won last time. This is going to be, they're going for their 6th title. They won it 5 times. This is going to be the 6th time if they actually win this particular one. And for me, I think we must give kudos to the River State government, giving them the necessary support. Before the season got started, they were able to get, a couple of players, to strengthen the team. And we've seen those players, of course, coming up to deliver. And that's what they've got a good basketball team should do. You shouldn't just go into the season with the numbers of players you have. Integrate some other players that could also help boost the strengths, of course, of the team. And that's what they did this time. And that's why they've been so fantastic, being unbeaten in 5 games. And we'll see how far, they go. I tell you, it's not an easy fit, it's not that easy. But we've seen River Supers, doing this thing with ease. Beating teams, with a very high margin. That should tell you that, of course, they are way above, the teams down here in Nigerian basketball. And I think for me, it's really been an impressive one. And as well, I think kudos was given to the coach, Ogo Daudu, one man who has, really understudied basketball down here in Nigeria, and he knows what it takes. And that's how we're seeing as well this success, for River Supers. We'll just keep our fingers crossed and see how far they go this time. Can they defend it? I tell you, I see them, of course, being very close and defend this particular one. Today, they will be in action against Kwara Falcons, who have also not been that fantastic. And I think River Supers, of course, has what it takes, to outclass them today.
River Supers has what it takes to outclass the Kwara Falcons later today, and it could be 6-0. That is 6 wins and no defeat, for River Supers. They are clearly the undefeated side in the league so far. It's like, the quarterfinal stage. How many teams do we expect to see?
I was expecting to see 8 teams, of course, in the quarterfinal stage. And from what we're seeing, River Supers, of course, will be one of them. And it poses a huge threat, to other teams at this point in time. Looking at the fact that, they've been so fantastic this season. I think other teams will want to make sure, they put up their best if they want to defeat, River Supers at this point. But I think the organizers, they've not yet, revealed the venue for the quarterfinal where it will be played. Last time it was actually held down here in Port Harcourt, but this time the venue has not been announced. So I will just keep our fingers crossed. But for River Supers, I think it's been so rosy for them.
Fingers crossed, and look, River Supers return all the way to the final and come back to Port Harcourt, River State, Nigeria, with the trophy. From basketball now, we'll go to tennis, and in tennis, 29 teams from Nigeria and 3 others from Ghana, Togo, and the Benin Republic are set to slug it out in Lagos for the ultimate prize at the first mixed team table tennis tournament here in Africa. We understand the newly introduced mixed team event was first played in China way back in 2023, with its debut in Africa, sponsored by the senator representing Lagos East Senatorial District. Kingsley, mixed table tennis is not very common here in Nigeria, but it is here now with us, organized by the Nigerian Table Tennis Federation, and will take place. In fact, it had been in action yesterday. We saw it yesterday, running till tomorrow at the Teslim Balogun Stadium in Surulere, Lagos.
Yeah, for me, I think it's a good one. Looking at the fact that, we don't really practice the mixed table tennis down here, in Nigeria. But I think it's actually good. Maybe the Table Tennis Federation, can key into this going forward, because I believe in this particular one, talent will be spotted, and as well they can now get, of course, set of players that could possibly maybe represent the country when it has to do with mixed table tennis. In China, it is one of the popular sports, down there. They play it, so well. Probably if we can also venture in it, it can be another area where we can use, of course, to put up, our force once again when it has to do with, table tennis down here in the country. It's a good one, and kudos to the senator for being the man, of course, who has actually decided, to sponsor this one. Let's just see, what comes out from it. But I believe the Table Tennis Federation, their eyes will be on the players to see if they can actually spot their talents from this one.
Talking about talent, we hear about 160 tennis players, both in the male and the female category, will be part of this event, and it promises to be very, very thrilling for table tennis players here in Nigeria. A mixture of male and female players playing in a tournament. Still talking about tennis, Kingsley. Jack Draper's hope of being part of the season-ending ATP finals is completely over. What could have happened to Jack Draper, the British tennis player, after his 7-match winning streak was ended at the Paris Masters 10th round?
Also sad, was beaten 5-7, 6-2, 6-3 in that encounter by Australian Knights. He talking about Alex de Minaur, and this is what we've always talked about when it has to do with the British players. Inconsistency has been the key word, for them. Jack Draper having a very impressive, run so far, putting up a very impressive winning streak for himself, but coming down at this point in time. If he had probably gone ahead of Alex de Minaur, maybe he would have found that chance of being.
Jack Draper was in the semi-finals of the U.S. Open.
Yeah, it was the semi-final of the U.S. Open, and the season, of course, looked a little bit rosy for him, but it was just for him to have cemented his place now in the ATP finals, and of course he lost this one. And that's the thing I've been talking about. British players have shown high level of inconsistency over the years, and it's been so abysmal for them. I'm so sad for him, looking at the fact that, he has a very good season this year. Looking forward to being one of the 8 players that will be at the ATP finals, and now, he has lost it. It's a very disappointing one for Jack Draper.
It's not only disappointing for Jack Draper this hour for the ATP season championship coming up in Milan, Italy. Is same for Carlos Alcaraz, the Spanish sensation. He's out as well. He crashed out from the Paris Masters.
So sad at this point in time. In a tournament where you don't have the big names, the likes of Djokovic didn't participate in this one. I'm talking about Yannick Sinner. He opted out from the competition due to intestinal virus. He couldn't participate. And everyone was thinking that it's going to be the opportunity for Carlos Alcaraz to see how to close the gap when it has to do with the ranking between him and Yannick Sinner. And now he has actually lost that. Yannick Sinner is actually gapping him with over 4,000 points. I think getting this particular one, this Paris Masters, comes with about 1,000 points. That would have been, of course, an opportunity for him to see how to close that gap. But he actually missed that. It's been, I think, for the last 3 tournaments, it's very, very poor outing for Carlos Alcaraz. And I think for me, he has to take a break and see how to re-strategize, strengthen himself, and come back. Probably, I don't think things are well with him psychologically. Taking a look at the fact that the way he has been opting out, or probably losing games, in so many tournaments. I think Alcaraz really have to step up. He has to show us that he is that man that could possibly, of course, to challenge the likes of Yannick Sinner. I'm probably looking forward to replace maybe his role model, who is Rafa Nadal, who has actually retired at this point in time. He has to show us that mindset of a champion, and that's what Alcaraz needs to do. We'll see what Yannick Sinner is doing already. If you want to challenge Yannick Sinner, if you want to put up that rivalry, he must be consistent. Not winning today, losing tomorrow, winning today, and losing tomorrow.
Does he have any chance of going to Milan?
Of course, yes, of course, he has a chance of going to Milan, being one of the top 8 at this point in time. I think everything is there for him, but can he be able to prove himself? Because it's going to be a very tough one, at that particular stage. With this level of performance, the hope of Alcaraz, putting up that particular performance everyone is expecting is very slim. Because
isn't it too much of pressure from a very young tennis player who just broke him just about under 2 years ago? He's gotten a couple of Grand Slams. So for me, it looks like there's so much expectation from the Spanish whiskey.
Yes, so much expectation. When you're on the limelight, when you're up there, people will expect more from you. Just like what we saw from a certain Emerald Kano. When she came up, everyone expected her to go very far. But maybe she couldn't control the pressure. But I think Alcaraz, for that of Alcaraz, he should see how to take the games one after the other. No matter the pressure that is coming up, we should take a look at Yannick Sinner. Yes, we understand the man has been so fantastic, but we understand the kind of pressure that surrounded him when he was actually being accused of doping and all that. He still went ahead to prove himself. So I think I expect that same strength and mentality as well from Carlos Alcaraz.
Carlos Alcaraz crashing out of the Paris Masters, but he still has a chance of going to Milan for the season-ending ATP Championship, where top 8 players, only the top 8 players will feature at the end of the day. We just have to wrap up this half of the show with one story more coming from Formula One. In this instance, aftermath of the Mexico City Grand Prix, it looks like the attitude and behavior of Max Verstappen is still under the searchlight. Of course, remember Donald Norris criticizing him for what he saw as unfair racing tactics, and this is reporting he received 2 10-second penalties for forcing Norris off the track twice during overtaking attempts. But Max Verstappen, who holds a strong lead in the Formula One standing heading into the Sao Paulo Grand Prix, which is the very next race, is saying the whole noise about him forcing off Nolan Norris was very annoying. Do you stand with Max Verstappen on this one?
I don't, because this is not the first time he has been accused of, driving recklessly, or probably having a rough driving on the...
Or using wrong tactics?
Yes, wrong tactics, to overpower his opponents at this point in time. For me, I think you should watch it. You must not win by all means. That's what we've seen from him, right from the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, where he...
It's had the same issues with, what's his name?
Lewis Hamilton.
Lewis Hamilton, yes.
Yes. Right from the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, where he controversially won that particular one and stepped up to limelight. The man, he's a controversial driver. That's the way I see him. Very, very, very controversial. When it doesn't go his way, and then he tries to put up tactics to make sure he's up there. And for me, that is not a good spirit of sportsmanship. He should be fair, whenever, of course, is on the circuit. And that's what London Norris, of course, is talking at this point in time. So for me, I think the FIA should watch, they should put their eyes on Max Verstappen, because at this point in time, looking at the fact that, McLaren and London Norris is gradually coming closer. He's now doing everything by all means now to see how he can stand. That is not a good spirit of sportsmanship. He should be able to compete, fairly going forward.
Max Verstappen compete fairly going forward. If you have to prove that you're really champion, his points has been reduced, no doubt about it. And we just hope that he will begin to get his lessons there after a month of that 10-second penalty. That will be it for this half of the show. We'll return back in a jiffy, and when we return, we'll take a look at the football, where a lot more is happening, especially in the Carabao Cup. There's been some interesting results as well. I will look forward to the international break as well. When we return from the break, we'll serve you with the details. Stay with us.
The people of Maiduguri need your help. A catastrophic flood has engulfed the city, leaving over 1 million residents stranded and fighting for survival. Entire communities are submerged, with people trapped inside homes and on rooftops, cut off from food, clean drinking water and essential supplies. Health experts are warning of a potential outbreak of deadly diseases, and medical facilities are out of commission. The situation is dire. Helicopters, boats and high-riding trucks capable of navigating the treacherous, waterlogged areas are urgently required to reach the countless men, women and children still awaiting rescue. The Nigerian media is issuing a desperate plea to the government, humanitarian organizations, international actors and citizens across the nation. Step in now, before it's too late. For more information on how you can help, contact Professor Usman A. Tar, the Honorable Commissioner for Information and Internal Security, Borno State, on 0809-233-3955. Every second counts.
This is powered by Atlantic Television Network.
Welcome back. It's Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network, and we told you how Shehu Diko has assumed full responsibility for activities at the National Sports Commission, promising, days of activities where legal framework, and not just legal framework, development infrastructures will come first before results in sporting endeavors in the country. And I think Kingsley completely agrees with him in that regard as well. Tennis, we've seen nearly 160 mixed tennis players, both male and female, set the Teslim Balogun Stadium alight in a tournament that promises to be very, very thrilling, and of course, first of its kind here in Nigeria. Now, let's quickly go across, Kingsley, to football, and there's been pockets of incidents in the past where we've seen violence at the National League. But for the 2024-25 football season, the chairman of the body, George Allo, says all participating clubs must adhere to the spirit of sportsmanship to avoid being axed from the competition. There must be no violence at any of the match centers, coming from the National League chief.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a good way to go at this point in time, and we must give kudos to the man. He has actually brought up strategy to strengthen the Nigerian National League. This time around, I think the league is taking a very, very good shape. The other day, we got reports that there will now be monthly awards, for coaches, players, as well as teams, as well this time around. And from what we're getting as well is that the matches, of course, some of the NNL matches will be streamed, online. It's a very good innovation this time for the Nigerian National League. And talking about crowd violence, he's also talking about that particular one, that the clubs should make sure that they reduce anything that will actually cause, crowd violence, in the Nigerian National League. In the past, just like you mentioned, we've seen issue of crowd violence where matches are being disrupted due to fans, of course, who do not agree maybe with the current results of a particular, encounter, and they invade the pitch, beat players, beat match officials. And what they are seeing at this point in time is that they don't want to see that in the NNL, and that if that happens, the club, of course, will be sanctioned at this point in time. And as well, I think you take a look at it in the past, the reason why Vandreza FC decided to opt out, from the Nigerian National League is as a result of the fact that, they wanted, of course, to stream most of their games. And when they get down to play away from home, most of the home team did not allow them to stream. But this time around, I think the chairman has said that any club that want to stream their away game, they should be given that, a particular opportunity to stream their games. That home teams shouldn't restrict, of course, away teams, to stream game. And I think for me, it's a good innovation. Putting the league online is something that will definitely help the Nigerian National League, to grow, and as well, attract sponsors.
Talking about the Nigerian National League, there's proliferation of this league is played in zones, and there's largely any zone where we don't have, incidents, week in, week out. Don't you think heavier fine should be applied in the league to, forestall these incidents of violence?
Yes, of course. Heavy fine should be actually being put in place at this point in time, because when a team know that they will pay a particular amount of money that is very huge, I think they will do everything they can to make sure the curb issue of crowd violence, assaulting match officials, and all of that, and causing unnecessary issue that will probably bring the league, of course, to a very negative light, out there. So for me, I think the league body should also look in that direction. Is either you talk about deducting point deduction, or you put up a heavy fine that, of course, should be very scary for teams, when they know that they will pay so amount of money, and then they will try as much as they can to put this in place.
Well, we just hope that the league body in charge of the Nigerian National League will do everything possible to ensure that we don't have incidents this year. The 2024-2025 football season gets underway in just about 2 weeks from and now. And everything's been done to ensuring that the matches come hitch free. I'll now look at what's happening in the Nigerian National League. Enyimba Academy seems to be in the news again. We understand they have cleared all of their players' entitlements, but the professional association body is saying this is not true. Players for Enyimba Academy are still being owed.
Yeah, that's the situation of things at this point in time. But from what we're getting is that anybody have at least cleared part of the money, even economic warriors as well. But I think the professional body are still coming up to say that has not been done. So it's a very dicey situation. Don't forget about 10 players, they actually withdrew the license of 10 players of these teams, to participate in the Nigerian Premier Football League. And that could have a way of affecting the performance, of the team. But anybody are coming up to see that they have cleared at this body. So I think the league body should look at it and try to resolve, all of this issue, because it is not really rosy. But from what we saw, some clubs now have started responding, paying some of the players, they owed, even their coaches. So I think from this now, it will help the league and help, to see that players are being paid when due, and will not be hearing issue of players being owed and all of that. So it is a good gesture from the league body, but for that of Eimba and Economy Warriors, I think they should try to see how to settle their case, with the league body.
Let's go now to across Europe, and ahead of the international break, and teams taking part in the African Cup of Nations qualifiers for a respective country, it looks like Semi Ajayi will no longer be part of the Super Eagles match against Rwanda and the Benin Republic. We understand he copped up injury only yesterday.
Yeah, it's going to be a huge miss. Talking about Semi Ajayi, it's been so instrumental for in the defense, for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. But in his absence, I think possibly maybe we'll get a replacement at this point in time. And I think it will not really affect the team because if you take a look at it, they are on the verge of qualification already. 10 points on the group as it stands now. They have to play Rwanda and Benin Republic. Just a win, in any of those games, of course, will give the Super Eagles that edge of qualifying. So I don't think this might probably will affect Super Eagles of Nigeria much, because I think are already done and dusted at this point in time. So let's just see what comes up. We hope and pray that, of course, he gets a quick recovery.
Let's now get to England, and talking about England reminds me, Manchester City will visit Real Hotspur in the Carabao Cup quarter-finals. In the other fixture, we saw Liverpool will play against Southampton, while Arsenal will host Crystal Palace in a London derby. Looking at the fixtures, well, Newcastle United are home to Brentford. These quarter-final ties are expected to be in the on the 16th of December. How good, how fierce are these fixtures, Kingsley?
I tell you, it's a very, very interesting fixture. Take a look at it. There's no, AFL championship teams.
They're all Premier League sides.
Premier League side, in this particular one. That's to tell you how intense it is. It's going to be an opportunity. It's going to be the quarter-final stage. Arsenal now have a chance, of course, of contending, for a title this time around. And I think they can. I think the only team that might be a stumbling block for them might be Liverpool. I don't know about Crystal Palace. I don't think Crystal Palace could give them
the London derby.
Yeah, it's the London derby, but I think by then Arsenal should be able to have most of their players back. Odegaard should be back, by then. That game will be in January next year. So I think Odegaard should be fit. Most of the injured players will be back by then. And I tell you, it promises to be an exciting one for Arsenal. For Liverpool, I think they stand a chance when you take a look at their impressive form, so far. And they're playing a very a side that's not so strong, talking about Southampton. So for me, I think it's going to be an easy pass for Liverpool in that particular one. Newcastle is also another team that will also show much strength as the lock-ons against Brentford. So it promises to be an exciting EFL Cup quarter-final clash, and we'll see which of the teams will go ahead from there.
Well, just before you bring in more report, let's look at what happened in Italian Serie A last night. Como FC playing against their opponents. Wow. What happened? 5-1. Last year, beating Como FC 5-1. Former Arsenal coach, player, is now the coach of Como FC. Fabregas. It looks like he's having a real first baptism of fire. We saw him getting some good results at the beginning, but now he understands that his team is playing in the Italian Serie A.
Yeah, definitely. For me, Como is going to take a lot, for them to stabilize themselves in the Italian Serie A. We've seen some couple of results from them, but I think we're still seeing that inconsistency, from them, and they should be able to see how to get themselves, strong. They need to get, players that could possibly, put up that competition. The Italian Serie A is a very tight league, very highly competitive. So if you want to play in the Italian Serie A, then you must be ready you must be able to get those players that could help you challenge, for the title at the end of the day. But that's what Como do not have. Fabregas is just trying as much as he can to use his coaching ability to see how he can gather those results we've seen at this point in time. So we just hope that they will take this off and see how to bounce back strongly.
Says Fabregas, former Arsenal and of course top player in the Premiership in England, taking care of Como FC there. First time in the Italian Serie A. Roma was in action as well last night to beat Torino by 1-0. Kingsley, Roma not getting the kind of results we expect of them this season.
Yeah, not getting the kind of results we expect from them. Since Jose Mourinho left, we understand wasn't really a good one during his time, especially towards the end of his stay at Roma. We saw them getting a new coach, but the result has not really come the way the fans expect. Is win today and lose tomorrow. We've not seen that consistency from AS Roma. It's been a long time. We've seen AS Roma, of course, being that at that very much consistent. If you take a look at it during the days of the likes of Totti and the rest of them, AS Roma were that very much fantastic. But they've lost their strength at this point, and they're looking forward to see how they could bounce back. But we just hope to see how the season will look like for them.
It's a weekend, and of course, Premier League, matches across Europe as well. But in the Spanish La Liga, there will be just one fixture tonight, and that will be the encounter between Mallorca and Deportivo Alaves. Thereafter, we understand matches involving Spanish teams. Valencia side has been postponed because of the devastating flood that has taken place there in the last 48 hours. Kingsley, our heart goes out now to the fans of Valencia, who, of course, if you look at videos coming from Valencia, you can say, wow, could this just be only flood? But that's what it is. And so now fixtures involving Valencia and some other lower rung teams from Valencia have all been postponed in Spain.
So sad at this point in time. And I think I tried to dig deep to get what could be the reason for that heavy flood. And as it was a result of heavy downpour. And talking about that, there's this issue of global warming, down there in Spain, and it has actually, of course, maybe affected the climate down there, and that's why we saw that heavy downpour. It was so sad. We hear about over 90 people lost their lives, in this particular one. So sad at this point. We just hope that Valencia will be able to get things, back, and let's see how it goes down with them going forward.
One fixture in the Spanish La Liga, Deportivo Alaves versus Mallorca. There will be one fixture as well in the German Bundesliga. Bayer Leverkusen will be at home. Kingsley, they are up against Stuttgart, VfB Stuttgart. Leverkusen continue winning, especially at home.
Yeah, they've actually gathered some impressive results, at home. Against Stuttgart, I think it's going to be a little bit competitive, because Stuttgart are also one team that have also shown, prowess at this point in time. For Leverkusen, they are just, a little bit inconsistent. The way we saw them last season, churning out 3 points in most of the games, is not the same way we're seeing them at this point. They've gotten about, if not 2 or 3 draws so far this season. Even the last game, I think they drew their last game. And coming down against Stuttgart, I really think they have to come up with their best. Their key man, Victor Boniface, who always, put the ball into the back of the net in all the games, I think also will be in this particular one, and everyone, of course, will be looking forward to see him getting another goal as well. If
you're full of football in France, there will be 2 fixtures tonight across the French Ligue 1. AS Monaco is up against Angers. AS Monaco should be able to garner all 3 points at home.
Let's see how it goes, because it's football. You cannot totally give all 3 points to AS Monaco, but from what it says, you take a look at their pedigree so far this season, I think Monaco has a very good chance for putting up that huge challenge, against Angers tonight.
Lille will play at home against Lyon. Lyon, both of them are Champions League sides.
Yeah, both of them Champions League side, and it promises to be an exciting one. And we look forward to see, of course, who gets it right. For Lille, I think they've been beat, fantastic this season. And for Lyon as well, they've not really done that bad. It promises to be a little bit of a cagey encounter. But I think the best team, of course, will get the 3 points at the end of the day.
The best team will get 3 points. And tomorrow there will be more fixtures across Europe as well, as the teams begin to prepare to garner points ahead of the international break that comes up in just a few days from now. But one Nigerian player is in the news, Kingsley Ademola Lookman of Atalanta in Italy. It looks like so much pressure on him now to move across to France.
Yeah, so much pressure. Last summer, we got to report that Paris Saint-Germain were looking for his services. But I think the money that was put up by Atalanta, was too much. And Paris Saint-Germain, of course, they have to back out, from that particular deal. And there's something these Italian clubs, they do. They're always up, the price of a player, especially African players that are doing well. Take a look at what happened between Napoli and Victor Osimhen, and now the same thing with Ademola Lookman. So I just think they should try and see how to let the man go. Lookman has done a lot, for himself. He was actually ranked 14th in the Ballon d'Or, award that was held.
Lookman is arguably this season Africa's best player.
Yes, definitely. And you talk about the CAF award, CAF Best Player award that will be coming up as well this year. The man is not far from it. Despite we know that we have the likes of William Trusekong and some other African players that have done so well. I think Lookman, if you take a look at what he's done, won the Europa League last season for his club side, talking about Atalanta. He was able to put up about 4 goals in the last African Cup of Nations, where the Super Eagles of Nigeria got to the finals. And even this season, the man has been so impressive for Atalanta, even for the Super Eagles as well. So the man is so close. For me, he should be the man that should be given that award, talking about the CAF Men's Player of the Year. I think that's why so many clubs are looking for him. Where Chelsea, they are looking for his services, even West Ham and Paris Saint-Germain. And for what it is, Atalanta, they're already looking out for his replacement, because come January, he might be leaving Atalanta.
Well, that will it for this edition of the show. We'll definitely be back at 6 p.m. Nigerian time for Sports Extraordinary, when we'll take in-depth look at most of the features that will be taking place in the Nigerian Professional Football League and across the top 5 leagues in Europe as well for this weekend. Until then, remember, peace and unity are clearly pathways to progress. Always enjoy here on Atlantic Television Network.
The people of Maiduguri need your help. A catastrophic flood has engulfed the city, leaving over 1 million residents stranded and fighting for survival. Entire communities are submerged, with people trapped inside homes and on rooftops cut off from food, clean drinking water and essential supplies. Health experts are warning of a potential outbreak of deadly diseases, and medical facilities are out of commission. The situation is dire. Helicopters, boats and high-riding trucks capable of navigating the treacherous, waterlogged areas are urgently required to reach the countless men, women and children still awaiting rescue. The Nigerian media is issuing a desperate plea to the government, humanitarian organizations, international actors and citizens across the nation. Step in now, before it's too late. For more information on how you can help, contact Professor Usman A. Tar, the Honorable Commissioner for Information and Internal Security, Borno State, on 0809-233-3955. Every second counts.
This is powered by Atlantic Television Network.